Welcome back, everyone, to Gotcha Interact. Today, we came out with a developers discussion, or guess I should say we did. Hoyo did yesterday, came out with a dev discussion, and they are talking a lot about some very good quality of life changes. Nothing necessarily that's going to absolutely change everything that's going to be about the game, but actually some things that I'm pretty excited and thankful for is what I should say. Maybe not excited because it's not necessarily going to be absolutely insane. I don't know about you, Rift, but I think that they are nice changes, things that maybe we've wanted, didn't know we wanted, but we want. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, kind of get through this pretty quickly, and just kind of talk about what we think about it as well, and just kind of get you guys the kind of major things that are happening. So the first thing that we see is seamless, repeatable boss fights. I think this is what mainly the community wanted originally through boss fights. If you remember, boss fights used to take, what, 2 to 3 minutes or whatever before a respawn or something like that, or maybe even longer. Back before then, and there was no timer. Then they switched it in a dev discussion. They changed some things over time, and they got some feedback. They wanted it more consistently. Then it went down to like a 2-minute timer. Then it went down to you just have to teleport away from the boss, and then it respawns. Well, now they've gotten even more feedback because people, I think this is the end goal, was after you collect your rewards from boss fights, bosses will respawn immediately, allowing you to keep challenging them, except for Lupus, Boreas, and the Dominator, or the Dominator of Wolves. So if you're fighting him, he will not insta-respawn over and over again. But that does mean that everybody else, it's probably just something on the back end that's having an issue. I don't know, what are your thoughts about this? I'm thankful for this, because this just makes just a little bit of time just a little bit better, that's all.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a good change. Definitely a lot of people wanted it, and it doesn't like hurt the other side of people that weren't necessarily asking for it. It's just like, okay, I just have to think about that now, and after I claim, just either teleport away or get out of there.
Right.
It's not like the boss just immediately starts pummeling you and it's just like, all right, I'm back, bam, and you're like,
Right.
Oh, I wasn't ready. But like, it's a good change because people that are farming for bosses, that boss gets right back up. You can really streamline using your resin if you're farming that boss. So it's a good change. The other thing I wanted to look at was actually the thing they talked about before this, where they talk about cross co-op, because it seems very interesting. But you can basically visit other travelers' worlds a little bit more freely. It's now available for world levels 8 and 9. And it just says, in order for you to enjoy a more comfortable co-op experience and adventure with your friends with more ease, starting from version 5.3, travelers with world levels 8 and 9 will be able to freely enter each other's worlds. The enemy levels and drops will be based on the world level of the world you are currently in. So if you have like another newer player or just a friend of yours that isn't quite to level 9 yet on the world level, they can actually join you and get this same rate on the drops. So
nice.
That's something to keep in mind. And yeah, it's just like a nice quality of life for a little bit newer players, or you invited a friend to Genshin. Upgraded recommendations to quickly select suitable artifacts. So this overall, they're good changes. As we go through them, you'll see that. But I'll just go ahead and say it right now. We still haven't got anything like artifact loadouts that everyone and their mom keeps asking for and has been asking for at least 2 to 3 years, if not even more, because it seems like it should be so easy, right? Why can't they just implement that? It would make everyone's lives easier for the people that do want it. Maybe they're saving that for future change and they're just trying to build up the hype for. I don't know. That, in my opinion, it's like I'm kind of the same way in thinking with it. Yeah, just give it to us, because like everyone's asking for it. You're only gonna make people happier. Like, what's there to lose? It's not like it's hurting the casual player or anything like that. But in here we do see to help you access artifact recommendations at your fingertips and easily gauge the quality of certain artifacts, we've made the following optimizations in version 5.3 to cut down on steps when looking for suitable artifacts, so building your characters will be more hassle-free. So the first optimization is highlighted recommended affixes. So in the new version, when you view artifacts on the character interface, the recommended main and minor affixes for the character will be highlighted to help you quickly decide if an artifact suits the character, letting you pick the right ones to enhance or equip. Basically, this is kind of like what Starwell has always done, and I was kind of wondering when we would get something like this, because Starwell has always had this, if I'm not mistaken, or at least implemented it very quickly. And so I was just sitting and wondering, when is Genshin going to get this? Because that would just be nice. Now, to people that know how to play the game, you know how to play the game, and this doesn't really change anything because you already know the stats you're looking for. If you're a veteran player, you even know the difference between a min roll and a max roll. But for the casual player, this is definitely very good. It's going to make just getting artifacts at a glance, everything, it's just going to be a little bit easier. But Vixen, what's your opinion on this?
Well, there's a few things actually I wanted to go back on. I think that's the thing with artifacts in general. The whole loadout thing, I think there's a very interesting idea beyond that. So I agree with that one, which is it's a very touchy subject, I think, for a lot of players. But here I do like it. I think this is one of the more of those basic ones where it's just kind of like you're helping you. Okay, you know, here's a good main stat. This is a good one. This is not a good one. Like, it's just kind of almost basic. It's just not maybe extremely necessary. Now, I understand this is going to help overall those newer players and whatnot. It's going to help you not have to worry about watching guides. But the only issue I might have with this is that some characters, and especially based on the overall majority of the populace, because I'm going to guess that's where most of maybe where their data is coming from, is from the player base, and then they're just kind of throwing the top player base pieces up. If you remember, Nilu's best 4-piece set has just changed over time. And so when they had the best recommended artifact set based on player base, it used to be a different set besides her personal set. Now I believe it is her personal set. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if it has changed or if it did, but I know that there's some very interesting ideas beyond that, which is just maybe the annoyance I think with some people is that sometimes those numbers can be wrong. And even in Star Rail, we see that with a character like Black Swan or something like that, with like effect hit rate body or something. So there is almost an issue with that a little bit, but I think overall it's a very good base guideline to kind of go after. And if someone wants to look up a build guide afterwards and get someone's real pieces and points in, I think that's a good idea. But looking a little bit further, the actual big thing that I do like about this optimization is, in addition to this, to help you save time on calculations and quickly determine the value of artifacts in the new version, when enhancing artifacts or using the compare option to view artifacts, you will then be able to see the number of times each minor affix has been enhanced. This is also something Star Rail has done, which I am very thankful for. I was actually doing artifact grinding today, or I've always kind of have been recently, and this has been something I was like, you know what, it's just easier to see those affixes. Now, as a Genshin player, for the longest time we've been playing, you almost get to just immediately look at a stat, because we've been looking at it for so long, and almost understand what that should be. Like, okay, that 508 HP with a maximum, I think at flat HP is 299, so that has to be, you know, 2. That has to be, it has gone into it one time. Crit rate, the maximum is 3.9, and that's at 3.1. That has to be one roll. And the lowest is 2.7, so it can't be both. All those things almost happen simultaneously in our heads. So now having this, it might just help that other gaming populace, the characters or the players that actually don't want to think about that, maybe have to really worry about that. It also helps when you're looking at min-maxing, which one has more crit rate, which one has more crit damage, you know, has this one gone into this? It's just an easier glance at the pieces that you have, I think, overall.
Right.
But looking at the second optimization, we have all-in-one artifact recommendations. This is also a pretty good one. I think that this doesn't really matter on using the filter in the bottom left section anymore. As you can see here, he's almost instantaneously grabbing the 4-piece set that has the highest amount of the recommended set based on the populace of the game. He's going for a main stat here, and then he's looking at substats. So in version 5.3, when equipping artifacts, you can view the artifacts used by recently active players from a convenient one-stop interface via artifact recommendations in the top right corner to easily gather the required information. You can also directly click on the recommended sets, main affixes, and minor affixes or main stats and substats on this interface to quickly filter existing artifacts. That is just going to be extremely nice to see. Also, the artifact recommendations for new characters will be available within a week after the release. Usually, I don't know if it's been longer, but to me it's always felt longer, that it's almost just taken forever for it to update. And so I feel like 1 week, I feel like is quicker than it used to be for other characters, because we do have recommended affixes or whatever for other characters, but sometimes it just feels like it takes a while. I don't know, what about you, Rift? You have Chaska, does it feel like it's taken longer than a week?
So you're talking about like to build her?
Like new characters, you know, when you have what the recommended affix for a main stat is, and it says like, you know, needs to be calculated or whatever because the character's too new.
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
it does take
long?
at least 2 weeks.
Okay,
From what it
because this
feels
is only
like.
1 week.
I feel like it's
which is
taken
so
2
nice.
weeks.
Right,
So yeah,
that's
that is
what I
very
thought.
nice. It's going to help especially just newer players as well, get just to see sooner what should I actually be leveling. Now, of course, a veteran's going to say, well, just look up on YouTube. Really, not everyone watches media, especially casual players. They're not going to care to look up the media on what other people say, or they don't even have the media. You know, there's a lot of different reasons. But I think one thing that people have to think about and just remember is that Genshin's player base is vastly casual, especially if we compare to a game like Star Rail. Star Rail just tends to have more, not tryhards and like meta slaves. I just mean players that are a little bit more invested into what they want to do on their account or whatever. And that really just kind of comes down to the nature of the game. Yeah, you can still play Star Rail casually. I actually kind of do play Star Rail casually myself. But with Genshin also just being an older game and getting the player base is just bigger is the point. And obviously, I'm not sourcing these from anywhere. Like, these aren't statistics. This is just kind of over the years general
Personal
knowledge
feelings.
and kind of like, yeah, exactly. But with Genshin being a more casual tone of game, these are really good changes. It may not be artifact loadout that everyone's asking for. Who knows? We may still eventually get that. Should we have it sooner? Yes, I think so. But at the same time, I think we can look at the positivity of these changes. These are really good changes, especially this one we just talked about, this all-in-one kind of one-stop shop for your artifact recommendations here. Once again, I was smiling earlier as you were reading this, Vixen, because it's like another Star Rail integration where I'm like, they had this in Star Rail. Why couldn't they just done this sooner for Genshin too? Like, just because, you know, it's like, I know they have different teams and whatever, but finally something that's much faster. What we had before this was better than even what was before that. And, you know, that was the thing where in the bottom left, you can sort, okay, I'm looking for this set. But then you'd have to separately get your main stat and minor affixes. This is just much more like Star Rail. As soon as I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you could just, here's the set, here's the main stat, here's the substats. And it's just nicer and much quicker, especially if you do find yourself spending a lot more time building multiple characters or something, a lot more horizontal investment. It's just a good all around. There's no negative coming out of this.
If you also look with Zhongli while they're doing this, that highlighted portion they were talking about earlier, you see how defense percent isn't highlighted and then it switches to HP percent. It is pretty highlighted there. And crit damage, crit rate, HP are all highlighted as well, but flat attack and the flat defense aren't at all. Zhongli is a character that does like crit, he does like HP, but he doesn't like defense and attack. That's easy if you understand how Zhongli works, but if you're a new character, you might not understand that. So there are little things here that I think are nice. So just to maybe show exactly what that looks like, it's even down here as well, showing the crit damage is showing for the Zhongli. So also you have the use recommended order option has been added to the sorting menu as well. So this can arrange artifacts based on their compatibility with your characters, saving time and effort. It's right here. You're going to click this button. So in the bottom left of your screen, you're going to see this little button down here. And that little button is right here. You'll then click the use recommended order, which will then immediately throw a certain piece on that's going to be the best for you. And I believe it is. If not, it's going to at least show you the best pieces starting left to right of which ones you're going to want to use. Now, the last thing that we're going to be looking at here, because it's kind of the only thing at the bottom, is looking at artifact inventory limit increased to 2100 for those people that have been like me, just saving every single piece from the new sets, and probably will keep doing so for the newer sets and then getting rid of the old ones. It is a little bit of a nice help. And for you people like Rift that want to build every single character and you have way too many artifacts, Rift, please clear out your inventory. Then, you know, that's going to be
who's
also
that Rift
helpful as
guy?
well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that guy's
But
that guy
I think
weird.
the previous inventory limit was 1800, so it's just an increase of 300. Not crazy, but still
nice
nonetheless
buff.
helpful for people that I just need some space, just 50 more slots, 100 more slots. Well, here you go. Here's 300. That's gonna help. Could it have been higher? Sure. Like, why not 2500 or I don't know, something different? But because I've been hearing that, but hey, it's a good change. It's better than nothing. If you scroll down and like see what everyone's saying about these changes, all you're gonna see is, oh, artifact loadouts, I guess dead in a ditch or whatever, you know, it's because that's what everyone's been asking for.
Loadout is a
Hopefully
forbidden
we'll get
word.
that at some point, because they've got to know in the studio by this point that everyone's been talking about it. Surely,
nice.
right? There's no way. So hopefully we'll get that soon, and I really hope we do, because that would save so much time and just be really cool to, like, you know, with characters that you want multiple different builds for, because some characters can work that way. Like, I'll just go back to the same example. Raiden, you have her typical emblem build, but there's also that hyper boom build. And instead of having to constantly go to each individual artifact and like, okay, switch that, sort by what I'm looking for, the EM versus if I'm trying to put her back on her regular set, it's just kind of a hassle. You want like a customizable button for the set where I press this button and it just swaps all of them. That's what we want. But so maybe we'll get that soon. But overall, I think all of these changes and optimizations considered, it's a pretty good one, especially for the casual player base. It's going to really help people like that. And I really actually do like the world level 8 and 9 the cross co-op thing. Seems very interesting. So I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out.
That'll be a lot more helpful for the people that are a little bit more happy and open to let a lot of people into their world. So good for the you people. But also some interesting thing. We're gonna skip the idea that I said it's gonna be a nice buff from 1800 to 2100 artifact inventory. That's just gamer brain rot. So we're gonna forget I said that. But if you look at the top of the screen here, it still says still no news for the interactive map sync. That's actually something else I kind of would wanting to kind of eventually have as well. So artifact loadout, hopefully in the future. I feel like the interactive map sync might be a little bit more difficult to do, obviously,
Yeah.
as you are doing every single thing in the game, and what you have, that looks like it's very back end heavy, and that I'm not sure we'll ever get, but that's at least understandable because that is a very heavy task to ask for. Whereas the loadout thing is not that much. But I did just want to
It
bring it
would
up
be
because that would
very
be
nice.
something
It
interesting
would
to
be
have
very
if we could.
nice.
It'd be nice if we could have it for sure. Well, that's everything we've got talking about kind of everything in the developers discussion. If you guys have any other ideas about maybe what you guys want to see in the future with Genshin, or maybe different things that you feel like should be there that aren't there, or maybe tell us something, maybe be a little bit more original and let us know something that you actually like in the developers discussion as well. I think there are some pretty good changes, like Griff said. I totally agree. These are very, very just nice for quality of life things, nothing crazy, but they are good things that are happening in the game. Obviously, something like the seamless, repeatable boss fights is probably one of my favorite things that happen in this developers discussion. So let us know what your favorite thing is down in the comments. If you guys did like the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. If you want to go ahead and join our Discord and go into one of our chats and be like, you know what, I actually really like this weird thing, and then just throw it in there. I'm sure somebody somewhere will probably say something from our Discord, so go ahead and join that if you guys want to join a community where we're in it, as well as plenty of other members as well. Thank you guys for watching the video though, and we'll see you guys in the next one.